My girlfriend smiled. I'm not ready to settle. I nodded. Good. I'm not waiting either. Futures aren't built on maybes. I returned the spare key, canceled the trip, and booked a solo window seat. Commitment isn't a deadline. It's a decision. I finally made mine. My idea was simple. I'm not waiting. Hers. I'm not ready to settle. I'm Ethan, 30, project estimator, the guy who tracks change orders to the penny. Brooke is 23, receptionist turned marketing assistant with a ring light and a calendar full of soft launches. We were wedged in our usual corner at Barnstorm. Burger and bowling nights, pinsetter thudding behind us, when she set her phone face up like a prop and said, I need to explore my options. The word options had that HR varnish that makes bad news sound like a workshop. I tasted ketchup and metal. I said, explore, but not with a safety chute named me. Red flags had stacked already, neat as bar tabs. At her friend's birthday, she toasted me as her starter boyfriend. Everyone laughed. I smiled. Then wrote the phrase into my notes app at 1:11 a.m. On her TikTok stories, she joked about a clingy guy who buys coupon flowers, which would be me and the two $4-12 tulips I grabbed between site walks. Someone in her office chat posted a screenshot of our texts. My color-coded Saturday plans, captioned, Who plans weekends like this? I do. I plan. I lay out options, then choose. That's not clingy. That's competent. So I made a choice. I slid her spare key across the table, brass scraping wood, and said, no backups. I canceled our Charleston weekend in the Uber home. The inn kept a 25% fee. I recovered $312.50 of the $417. I screenshotted the refund, filed it in a folder called Closures, and messaged the kayak rental, please release my Saturday slot. Then I bought a solo window seat to San Diego, outbound Friday 7:05 p.m., return open. I packed light, 2 t-shirts, board shorts, a paperback with sand already stuck inside from the last life I thought I was living. We'd been about to sign a Lotto lease. Exposed brick, south light, a view of the Pepsi sign. Application was approved. Deposit requested by end of day. She hadn't signed. I ate the deposit I'd put down to hold it. $7.50. Rather than marinate in a slow breakup in a place that smelled like fresh drywall and our compromises. The leasing agent called at 4:12 p.m. Are you walking away? Yes, I said. Please release 4B. My voice sounded like a notary stamp. Firm. Square. Brooke's group chat rotated to DEFCON 2. A mutual sent me a screenshot of her message. He's being dramatic and financially abusive. He canceled our trip because I asked for space. I replied with my own screenshot. Her line, 3:26 p.m. I need to explore my options. Her friend Morgan DM'd me. Relationships aren't contracts, dude. I typed, I agree. That's why I'm not offering services without a signed scope. Then I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. At 6:03 p.m., Brooke called. You can't just end it over dinner. I said, I didn't end anything. You redefined it. Options, space, not ready to settle. I'm responding with logistics. Silence. Then, small. Can I keep the plant? The plant was a snake plant named Kevin-eyed, repotted in a Home Depot bucket during the blizzard. Yes, I said. Kevin's all yours. I did inventory on the relationship like I would a job site. Her hoodie in my hamper bagged and labeled. The mug that says, Rise in PR. Into a box with bubble wrap. I reset my streaming profiles, changed the PIN on my Citi card, and removed her as an authorized user from my gas rewards. Authorized user is not equal to joint owner, and cutting access isn't closing an account. I wiped our joint grocery list app and opened a new one titled Ethan Solo. I Venmo'd her $58.40 for the sushi from Sunday. The memo read, Square up, no debt lingering. By 8:45 p.m., my San Diego confirmation was in my inbox. Seat 21F, window, starboard over the wing. I booked a hostel near Ocean Beach. $39 a night, towel rental extra, no drama included. I texted my sister. House sit? I'll bring back tacos. She sent thumbs up and a photo of her kid wearing a bucket on his head. Normal. Solid. Mine. At 9:12 p.m., Brooke posted a story. A boomerang of her raising a martini with the caption, "Choosing me." I flipped my phone, face down, and took out a pen. I wrote a rule on an index card. Commitment isn't a deadline. It's a decision. Under it, the timestamp. Today, 9:17 p.m. Then I stuck it to my fridge with a magnet shaped like a tiny level. Bubble centered. Steady. At 10:03 p.m., the bowling alley DM'd me asking if I wanted to keep our Tuesday lane reservation. I typed, "Yes, party of one." And I meant it. For 61 days, there was nothing. No, you up? No, can we talk? Just algorithmic absence. Her avatar dropping down my viewers list like a stone. I muted her everywhere and let the quiet cure the itch. I logged runs in Strava, Monday, 6:10 a.m. starts, 5K loops along the Platte. I joined a Tuesday rec league at the YMCA, Team Maroon, tip-off 7:40 p.m. I'm the guy boxing out men who still wear ankle braces from 2012. Work turned into clean arithmetic. 2 hospitals bid, 1 school retrofit, a light rail maintenance contract. I learned enough Python in the company's internal course to automate our takeoff spreadsheet. Quiet suits me. It lets numbers line up. Then flutter. An unknown number pinged at 9:02 a.m. This is Tessa. Brooke is really hurting. I stared at the name, the airy period after Tessa like a bow. I replied with a template I drafted. I wish her well. Please don't contact me about personal matters. She doubled down. She thought you'd fight for her. I typed. She asked to explore. I respected her request. Screenshot. Archive. Day later, LinkedIn of all places. A connection request from Nora, the sister who once told me I wore dad sneakers. Headline. Brand storyteller women who build. Message. We're taking a pause, not a breakup. Are you coming to Kira's party in Boulder? It'd be so healing. I wrote back from my laptop at lunch, salad sweating next to my mouse. I decline personal discussions on work platforms. Best regards. HR voice on purpose. Coincidences rolled in like trains on a timetable only one person could have made. 8:11 a.m., Huckle and Bean. My coffee place. Brooke stands behind me in line wearing a beanie I bought in Vail, eyes round. Wow, what are the odds? It's a neighborhood, I said, stepping aside. 6:28 p.m., King Soopers, Dairy Aisle. She reaches past me for 2% like we're actors in a meet-cute. Saturday, 3:05 p.m., the tattered cover. She drifts through essays with a tote reading "Self-care is revolutionary." This is so wild, she whispers. I don't whisper back. I nod to the cashier, pay for a Joan Didion I won't read, and go. Meanwhile, Mutuals ran color commentary on her exploration. Stories. A new jawline every week, club bathrooms lit like submarine alarms, a Vegas carousel with a hinge guy in a fedora. I didn't chase, didn't even hate watch. I rebuilt. I added 20 pounds to my deadlift, took the 6:30 a.m. reformer class because every estimator I admire has a spine that doesn't ache. I asked my boss for harder tickets and got them. By the end of Q1, I'd closed the Aurora Clinic job under budget and got bumped to team lead. I bought myself a used Fluke multimeter because precise tools make honest work faster. The monkeys kept flying. Her mom, Lorraine, called my office line. How she got it, I can guess. This is a family matter, she said. Boys don't slam doors. I wrapped the phone cord around my hand and said, Lorraine, please call my cell. Then sent a neutral text. Do not contact me at work again. When I got the inevitable abusive label in a group chat screenshot, I tagged it narrative versus paper trail in my album and let it sit. At 11:54 p.m. on a Wednesday, my doorbell cam caught the shape of my old college hoodie. She'd borrowed it for a camping trip and never returned it. Now it was on her, sleeves swallowed over hands. I opened the door, chain on. She lifted her eyes, mascara tired. Can we talk inside? No, I said. We can talk on the mat. She inhaled. I made a mistake. Behind her, the hall light buzzed like a neon apology. I kept my tone even. You had 3 years. You traded them for 6 months of experiments. She flinched. That's cruel. It's accounting, I said. Inputs, outputs. She tried to pivot. I've been in therapy. Good, I said. So have I on Thursdays at 5. She took a step closer, catching on the chain. Ethan, we can reset. My friends said you just needed time. I shook my head. Your friends did a lot of saying. They also posted my texts. The hoodie's cuff showed a bleach dot from the time we cleaned the sink with the wrong bottle. She looked down at it like it could save her. Can I at least come in for the plant? Kevin, the snake plant, stood smug on my bookcase. Hard to kill, impossible to guilt. Kevin's yours, I said, and slid a small box across the threshold. Her mug, a hair clip, the beanie, receipts taped to the inside, dates, amounts, my handwriting neat as a bid sheet. She stared at the box, then at me. You didn't even fight. I met her eyes. You asked for options. I took mine. I unhooked the chain just enough to breathe, then rehooked it. If you need closure, write it down. I did. I nodded toward an index card taped beside the door. Boundaries are decisions. 8:07 p.m. Today. She read it. She didn't smile. For once, there were no cameras, no chorus, just 2 people and a door that worked. On the stoop, she said the line like a vow and a verdict. I realized you're my choice. I kept my hands on the door frame. Now, after the test drives? She waited for me to soften. I let the hinge creak instead. You thought I'd wait, I said. She nodded, small. Access without accountability, there it was, simple as a key under a mat. I told a clean lie. I'm seeing someone. I wasn't. Watching her face shudder clarified the whole model. She didn't want me. She wanted a half-open door. If I left it ajar, she could binge freedom and sip security between flights. I pictured the index card on my fridge. Commitment is a decision, and decided again. I wish you well, but I'm done. She planted herself on the hall runner like a protest sign. I'll wait here. You'll come to your senses. It was 10:41 p.m. My building allows guest access until 10. I called the front desk, voice even, Resident 5C. I need assistance with a non-compliant guest. Security arrived in 3 minutes, polos and calm faces. She performed for them. Fate. Second chances. Palms open like a TED Talk. They logged her name, escorted her downstairs, and noted she refused to leave the property until reminded of trespass policy. Paper trail beats poetry. Next morning, she upped the stakes at my job. 9:17 a.m. Reception buzzes. Your girlfriend is here with meds. I don't take meds. I walked down, saw her holding a CVS bag like a white flag. You can't be here, I said. She lowered her voice for the audience. You forgot your prescription. I showed my badge, the visitor policy, and the clock. Please leave. She hissed. You love rules more than me. I shrugged. Right now, yes. By 11:03 a.m., a florist rolled into our cubicle row with a vase the size of a fire hydrant. Card. To my soulmate B. I signed for it, then walked it to the loading dock and asked the driver to return to sender as refused delivery. I emailed facilities to block florist access without pre-approval. Screenshot. Folder. Boundary logs. Online. She sprouted fresh accounts like weeds in sidewalk cracks. A new handle tagged photos from our first camping trip. Me holding a cheap lantern, her in that hoodie, captioned now with essay prose about pride-destroying love. On Medium, she posted an open letter addressed to the man who measures, calling me transactional and rigid. She tagged my decade-old posts, then DM'd my friends from burners with a PDF titled, What Closure Looks Like. I didn't click. I filed. Narratives are free. Time is not. She even reached my mother, which told me she'd exhausted easier levers. The call lasted 29 seconds. Mom told me later while stirring lentil soup, laughing without malice. She tried to frame it as just a fight. I said, playing around is her choice. Waiting isn't my son's duty. Then I hung up and watered the philodendron. Simple sentences save families. The entitlement began to crack under friction. Her texts lost their glossy pitch and got granular. Can I get back the hoodie? Yes, bag on the doorman's desk. Itemized list taped outside. Can we talk 30 minutes? Coffee? Public place? No, written communication only. She tried guilt math. I invested years. I answered with mine. So did I. I won't throw good time after sunk. The chorus tried one last refrain. Tessa, you're being heartless. I sent 2 screenshots, her explore options. My wishing you well. No commentary. Nora again. LinkedIn. This time with a calendar invite titled Closure. I declined and set a rule that sends anything from her domain to a folder named Weather. I'll check the weather when I choose. To ground myself, I kept routines like ballast. Poops on Tuesdays, Reformer Thursdays at 6:30 a.m. Python on Sundays with coffee in a chipped mug I didn't box because it was always mine. I bought earplugs for sleep and new socks because small comforts beat large speeches. I put a copy of our building's guest policy in my entry drawer. I made a template for please cease contact that cites dates, times, and escalation steps. At 8:02 p.m. one night, she tried the intercom again, a single press, then 5 more in quick succession, the old maybe the bell is broken bit. I watched the camera field. Nothing I needed to do. The doorman called without drama. Do you authorize entry? I do not. Click. Quiet returned like a tide you can set your watch to. Boundaries held. Entitlement cracked. And nothing collapsed except the version of us that asked me to stand in a doorway forever. It started with calls from borrowed phones. Unknown numbers at 12:14 a.m. 102, 237. I can see your light on. Answer, Ethan. Then the soft needle guesses. So is the blonde from basketball there? I logged each one. Screenshots of call logs, Google Voice transcriptions, stills from the door cam when the elevator ding matched the ring. When I reached a desk sergeant on the non-emergency line, he said the modern prayer, document everything. If it continues, file for a civil protection order. Keep your doors locked, your records tidy. I already did both. I built a folder called Escalation with subfolders by date. I saved voicemails with the filing naming convention we use at work. 2025-07-19_0202_VM_Brooke borrowed. I exported my D&D schedule to show I wasn't inviting contact. I printed a copy of building policy for refusal of entry, non-resident. If I can bid a hospital, I can log a breakup. Meanwhile, life kept trying to be regular. I had a first post-breakup date finally, Harper from the internal coding course. We'd sent nerdy messages about list comprehensions and burritos and settled on a meet at 7:30 p.m. River North, small bar with green tile and lamps like upside-down wine glasses. I wore a clean Oxford. She wore a white blouse, neat gold hoops. We ordered 2 Negronis and a soft pretzel we would both underestimate. At 7:54 p.m., the door went bright. Brooke in the red dress I'd bought on discount at a Cherry Creek sale. The one she'd called romantic without trying. She raised a glass to the room as if there were a toast and said loud enough to ripple. To us. Harper clocked the vector in one glance. Woman triangulating to our table. Brooke reached us in 3 strides. I'm his girlfriend, she announced, then, coy pivot. Well, X for now. I kept my hands visible. Palms flat on the table. Phone face up and clinic quiet. Harper stayed calm and firm. This isn't romantic. It's stalking. Brooke laughed, big and brittle. Relax. We're just talking. She angled her hip at me like muscle memory. I'm on a date, I said. Please leave. She tilted her head. Date with who? She looks 20. Harper smiled without warmth. 31. Data analyst. Also uninterested in your performance. Brooke's cheeks blotched. She reached for my phone. You don't need to record me. I wasn't. I was opening the manager's number I'd saved earlier because I anticipated a scene. She swatted at the phone, her glass sloshed. Red wine hit Harper's white blouse like an ink blot test. The manager appeared as if pulled by a cord. Ma'am, you need to stop. Brooke framed her hands like quotes. It was an accident. For witnesses near the bar turned in unison. No, it wasn't. The bartender pointed to the ceiling camera with the tiny blue LED, humming witness. Harper dabbed her shirt with seltzer and a square bar napkin. Calm people make the best case. I stepped back, breathing measured. We're asking you to go. She pivoted to me, voice syruped for the crowd. Ethan, be reasonable. The manager shook his head. Ma'am, we're calling police. She rolled her eyes, but she followed the manager toward the host's stand, still narrating a version where love is a loophole. The room exhaled. 2 officers came at 8:09 p.m. Quiet shoes, notepads. They separated us like they were moving fragile glass from a shelf. I gave them the log. Unknown number calls, door cam clips, the attempted work meds drop, the security escort note with time and badge numbers, tonight's video angle. The manager backed it, witnesses nodded. Brooke stared at the salt cellar as though mining it for a defense. One officer explained the boundary in humane monotone. The restaurant was issuing a criminal trespass warning, documented. Return would result in arrest. He turned to me. If you feel unsafe, file for a restraining order at county court. Keep all this. He tapped the folder I'd pulled from my bag. Yes, I brought a folder on a first date. Harper didn't flinch. She said to the officer evenly, He's been clear. She's not hearing him. They walked Brooke outside. She twisted back once, tried a small wave I didn't return. The window caught her reflection and our past like a 2-second documentary. Dress, glass, plea. I didn't get up. The manager comped the pretzel and offered club soda for the stain. Harper and I looked at each other and then at the mess. Well, she said, this will be a good story for the worst first date archive. I felt the joke loosen the evening's knots. We pivoted to pizza across the street, foldable slices, paper plates, a plastic cup of red pepper flakes. We laughed darkly at the romance industrial complex and compared incident report formats. She showed me how her team labels anomalies. I admitted I keep a boundary logs folder like a petty librarian. She said, no, like an adult. Back home, I added tonight's report to escalation, emailed myself copies, and wrote a 1-line summary on an index card. Public scene confirms pattern. Move from moral lines to legal ones. Time to pick up forms, not signals. Time to let the court clerk be the next witness. I filed Friday at 8:31 a.m. County Civil Window, Emergency Protective Order Packet in a manila folder labeled EPO Brooke, Exhibit AH. The clerk stamped everything with a thud that felt like a seatbelt click. My affidavit was dull on purpose. Times, dates, addresses, 0 adjectives. I attached call logs, Google Voice transcripts, screenshot grids of burner DMs, the restaurant incident report, and 2 witness statements the manager collected on letterhead. I left nothing to narration. By Monday, we had a temporary order and a hearing date. 9 a.m., Division 14. I hired counsel Rao and Bennett, flat fee $1,750, because clean facts are cleaner with a calm mouth. We prepped like a bid interview. Exhibit tabs, timeline, 1-page summary. Rao underlined the refrain. Courts don't award closure, they issue orders. I slept with earplugs anyway. Index cards taped to my fridge like cue cards. Brief, specific. Don't spar. Brooke arrived in a dress that said Sunday school, trailing Lorraine and a budget attorney who kept checking a phone. They sat 3 rows back. She wouldn't look at me. She looked at the judge's seal as if it were a brand she could pitch. Her counsel led with a line polished by group chat. She sought closure and apology. I was stonewalling. The wine thing was a misunderstanding between exes. Rao didn't roll his eyes. He stacked our exhibits like bricks. The judge, late 50s with readers on a cord, started with the paper. He read the voicemail transcript where her whisper pressed through the wall. I can see your light on. Then the list of unknown number calls at 12:14, 102, 237. He flipped to the fake account tags on my old posts. He studied the incident report. Swatted phone, wine onto blouse. For witnesses concurring, manager's security footage preserved. This is not closure. he said, voice like a gavel without the wood. This is stalking and harassment. Her counsel tried to sand it down. Post-breakup confusion. A man leading her on by answering administrative texts. Rao pointed to my template replies, please do not contact me, written communication only, and the doorman log refusing entry. He slid the building's guest policy into the record with badge numbers from the night security escorted her out. Paper trail beats poetry, even in a room with flags. The judge asked 2 questions that mattered. To her, did you say you wanted to explore other options? She said, small. Yes. To me, did you invite contact after that? No, he put his glasses down. You ended the relationship to explore. He declined to be your safety net. Your refusal to accept no brought you here. Lorraine exhaled a syllable that sounded like a swallowed objection. Order granted. 2 years. 500 feet from my home, office, gym, and Tuesday gymnasium. 0 contact in any form. Direct, indirect, electronic, third party. No tagging, no open letters, no deliveries. Surrender of any spare keys in 24 hours through counsel. The judge explained consequences plain. Violation equals arrest, fine, or both. He initialed each page, handed copies down the line, then called the next case like reading a meter. Outside, you could smell asphalt and people pretending they weren't looking. Lorraine moved in, pearl choker tight, and accused me of humiliating her daughter. My attorney stepped between us, hand light at my elbow. His voice was professional air conditioning. Ma'am, any contact via family counts as third-party contact and violates the order. Please step back. She blinked, recalibrating. Brooke stared past me at a banner about juror parking, as if that were the exit. We walked to the garage with the relief that follows a fire alarm ending. Rao's final advice was procedural. Carry the order, notify the building, send HR a copy for security, log any ping. I emailed PDFs from my phone in the elevator, building manager, HR, front desk. I forwarded the order to myself and printed 2 copies, one for my glove box, one for the drawer with batteries and tape. At home, I took down the index card that read move from moral lines to legal ones and replaced it with a new one. Order in effect. Expires 2027. Renew if needed. I set a calendar alert 6 weeks before expiry. I put my phone on the counter and poured water into Kevin the plant, who continues to thrive on benign neglect. Not closure, I told the room. Consequences. The room stayed still, which is all I ever wanted. The order worked like a new lock. The night pings went dead. The elevator stopped dinging at odd hours. Front desk logged 0 attempts in the first 30 days. My gym scanned her on the no-admit list and emailed confirmation. I sent HR a PDF. Security added it to my profile. My phone's escalation folder went quiet. No new entries. Just a tidy archive of lines I won't need to cross again. Consequences rolled through her life the way water finds the lowest point. Brooke no-showed 2 Mondays and a Thursday. Her company moved her from reception to project work, then out. Instagram flipped from club lights to grayscale quotes about surviving a narcissist and protecting your peace. Mutuals floated trial balloons. She's in therapy. Maybe in a year or 2 when everyone's grown. My reply was a fixed phrase I could write in my sleep. I wish her well. I'm not available now or later. Harper and I took it slow like adults who've met lawyers and don't want to meet more. Coffee before dinners. Hikes with hydration packs. We debugged scripts together on Sundays. I met her friends one by one, no staged surprises. When she asked why I carry a folder in my backpack, I said, because paper beats performance. She nodded and handed me a highlighter. Mutual, measurable, present. Mom texts once a week. Thank God you didn't marry her. Dad calls after Broncos games and says I handled it better than he would have. I'd have yelled, which is his way of saying he's proud. My sister dropped off a loaf of banana bread with nuts and a post-it. Boundary bread, sliced thick. Small jokes knit big holes. I kept the index cards, even when I wanted to pretend this was all a bad draft. Courts don't award closure. They issue orders. Commitment is a decision, not a safety net. I taped a new one above the sink. Choose people who choose you without additions. Kevin the snake plant is still upright, still green. Plants don't demand half-open doors. They either get watered or they don't. This wasn't revenge. It was self-valuation backed by paperwork. If Brooke had said, "We want different things," it would have hurt and I would have respected it. The deal breaker wasn't wanting to date. It was expecting me to freeze my life while she gained experience. Like I was a locker at the gym she could stuff feelings into and retrieve when convenient. That's not romance. That's warehousing. The signs were there, tagged and time-stamped. I just didn't invoice them. You're lucky I chose you. Be grateful I'm not high maintenance. Birthday toasts that called me starter boyfriend. Group chat screenshots where my planning became a punchline. A shift from we to I every time the check hit the table. Entitlement dressed as charm is still entitlement. I look back and call the $750 Lotto deposit the best money I ever lost. It bought me an exit ramp before drywall dust became a metaphor for sunk costs. It bought me a Tuesday night where I sleep through. A Thursday where no one rings the buzzer at 8:02 p.m. It bought me a lane reservation I can keep for myself and a pretzel I didn't have to defend. If this is you, you're not a safety net, a soft landing, or a placeholder while someone tries on selves in dressing room mirrors and sends you the bill. Believe what they do more than what they caption. Save everything: texts, calls, door logs. Write down dates. When the chorus shows up with scripted pity, remember the court only reads the script you print. Raise the boundary first, then the paper if you must. I make my bed every morning and write the date on a card. I lift, I code, I show up for the people who show up without choreography. Commitment is a decision, not a deadline. I already made mine and then wrote it down in neat block letters because I'm that guy, the one who measures not to control but to build. And the thing I'm building is a life where love is a choice made daily. Not a door I keep half open for someone who has me confused with a storage unit.